Thank you. Thank you so much. So our next part of our story, in this very important story, is this sculpture that's been 5 years in the making. Jay Goldstein's second video celebrates the extraordinary effort of Don Treadway, who did sculpture for Rod Carew, Jimmy Reese, and Nolan Ryan at Angel Stadium, and we were privileged as a retired faculty member that he would step up over this back to Fullerton from Colorado in such a way that was posted recently that one of our alums' daughters saw a truck with Coach preaching to the mountains in the back of the truck. And it lit up the internet because we were all excited to know that Coach was coming from Colorado all the way to Fullerton, and you're going to see him later today. Here's Jay Goldstein's video on the making of the sculpture.
The way I started this piece, because I figured it was going to be a freestanding figurative piece, and talked to different people, and we figured we'd try to make a life-size piece of sculpture. That was the first criteria to determine what we were making and the size. So once I kind of had the parameters on that, then I said, well, okay, I've known Hal. His career and my career overlapped. I knew what he did, knew what he represented. But whenever I was making this piece, I was trying to figure out, well, what do you do with a standing figure? What do you do with a coach, And Bob had a photograph, and you've probably seen this photograph of Hal Scherbeck, where it looks like his hand is gesturing. And Bob said, well, he was always doing that gesturing. And I said, yes, he was. So I said, that gesturing left hand, I like that. And then the other hand that actually came pretty easily to me, because I just kept seeing all these pictures of Hal with a clipboard in his hand. Idea then it was an aesthetic decision, and then one hand is up gesturing like this, and the other hand is out like this, and it's open, it's inviting, and looks as if he's speaking. The gesture on the mouth looks like he's saying something, like welcoming you, sort of thing. I wanted that, so I wanted that to be the idea. So I didn't want to. The rest of the stance is really kind of a traditional, what they called contrapposto pose, where the weight is shifted to one leg and the other leg is slightly extended out to the side front and is slightly bent. One to make it look like his stance. Whenever I started working on the maquette, we were talking about sketches. That was my sketch, because I changed that maquette. That's why you make it in a maquette. It's small. Twist it around, 10 minutes. If you're working something large, it would take you all day to do that same movement. So it allowed me to shift things around. I had a pretty good idea by the time I started. I was formulating a lot of it in my mind from the photographs. And so whenever I finally started the maquette, I changed it 2 or 3 times, but I basically knew where I was going. All of your visual problems were solved in the maquette. And practically, because I knew it was going to be digitized, I took it even further than I normally would. What I used is I went with our extremely modern technology we have, and had the maquette digitally scanned. And they took them half a day to scan it. And they'd had all that information. That information was then put into a 5-axis milling machine, and they used what's called industrial carving foam. It's a polyurethane foam, and this machine takes that digital information that was put in from the maquette, and over a week, it took over a week to carve this. The machine carves it out. Exactly. There was a lot to do on the clay image because basically it had had a layer of molten clay that had been heated up and painted on the surface of the foam, and then somebody had scraped over the surface and made a skimmed surface. I did have to go over the whole form and bring out the surface and the detail that was in that surface that was lost in the translation, as they say. I wasn't expecting it, but it was kind of like, okay, this is what it is. Nothing's going to change. You can't complain about it because I don't think they can bring it any more refined than this. I had it, I actually lived with the piece in my motel room. I was there 24/7. I don't think I left for a single day ever to just do anything else. I took it home and back to Ventura. I took the head and both hands, cut those off. Then I spent that month, the month of March, working on the hands and the head. And it took me that month to do it because that's where most of the visual information is that we will pay attention to, is in the hands and the face, obviously, and the head. So that clay was finished. And I was back, and I went back to Colorado and attached the hands and the head back to the core of the body. At that stage, I had mold makers to come in and make the mold off of it. And they were making a mold off of this thing. Within 3 days, they were finished with the mold and had sent it off to the foundry because everybody realized we're racing the clock now. At 11 sections to this that will be individually cast in bronze. No section larger than 2 feet. Now they've got to line all these back up and stack them back up and make them exactly in the same posture. That's been critical to the whole thing since I've started. Once all those bronze sections are welded together, the bronze is then sandblasted. That evens out everything. It also etches the surface of the bronze, which lets the patina grab into the surface. I hope that for the largest percentage of people that they like the piece. That's the best feeling I can have from that. Because it's a personal piece. I mean, this is not just a piece I'm commissioned to do. I know this guy. I knew him. It wasn't like when I was working and did the things for the Angels. And I've taught here 30 years. So there is obviously a visceral, emotional level of this, which I'm trying to tap into.
Don Treadway, would you stand, please? Don Treadway. Here's the thing, we're running over, I don't care. I thank my crew for the time they're investing right now, but we're going to take time. We're going to do this right, and no one's timing us for the rest of the day. Very important, we have a voice from the alumni, and we have